TomoNews presents Wildfire.
NASA warns that Indonesia's forest fires could worsen. NASA warns that the suffocating haze blanketing Southeast Asia for the past several weeks may worsen and become the worst ever recorded in the region. Illegal slash-and-burn farming in southern and eastern Sumatra, as well as on the island of Kalimantan, causes Indonesia to endure annual bouts of hazardous smog. The expansion of small farms and the growth of palm oil or rubber corporations in recent years has intensified forest fires in the country. The haze caused by this year's fires has spread to various parts of Indonesia and has deeply impacted air quality in Singapore and Malaysia. Pollutant Standards Index readings of over 300 are considered hazardous to human health. Singapore has recorded readings of up to 341 this year, while Indonesia has reportedly seen readings of up to 2,000. NASA researchers have warned that if Indonesia's current drier-than-usual weather conditions persist, the haze will worsen. Indonesia's Southeast Asian neighbors are pressuring the archipelago to solve the haze issue, with the Singapore Foreign Ministry reportedly saying that Indonesia is showing a complete disregard for our people and their own. The Jakarta Globe reports that an Indonesian official responded by accusing Singapore of acting like a child and making all of this noise. Indonesia has rejected Singapore's help to fight the fires.
Inferno spreads across Canada's Fort McMurray, 88,000 evacuated. An entire city burns as fire tears through forests and wooded areas in Northern Alberta, Canada. A wildfire that sparked on May 1st has spread to such catastrophic proportions it quite honestly resembles hell on earth. Sizzling temperatures, high winds, and dry conditions combined to create the disaster scenario, leading authorities to evacuate roughly 88,000 people in the city and surrounding area. Miraculously, there have been no reports of deaths or injuries thus far. Temperatures rose to as high as 32.6 degrees Celsius on May 3rd, the fire unrelenting as emergency crews battled the flames and smoke overhead. A state of emergency has been declared across the province of Alberta for the time being, as a reported 1,600 structures have been lost to the raging inferno among the 7,400 acres of land that have been burnt to a crisp. Temperatures are expected to drop down significantly over the next few days, which will aid firefighters in their attempts to calm the mighty blaze.
Officials hope to put death grip on massive Canadian wildfire. Cooler weather and rain showers are giving hope to firefighters currently working to stop a huge fire raging through the Canadian province of Alberta. The wildfire began on May 1st, southwest of Fort McMurray, the center of Canada's oil sands region. A week later, it had consumed 395,000 acres of land. The damage is smaller than previous estimates, which saw the fire growing to about 741,000 acres, but officials warned the fire could still grow overnight. Hot, dry, and windy conditions initially worsened the inferno, despite the efforts of 1,500 firefighters across the region. The weather turned on Sunday, bringing a drop in temperature and light rain that helped keep the fire at bay. The wildfire has destroyed over 1,600 structures and displaced about 88,000 people. No direct casualties have been reported, though 2 teens were killed in a crash during an evacuation. The blaze forced half of Canada's oil production capacity offline, incurring a loss of about 1 million barrels per day. The massive natural disaster is set to become the most expensive in Canada's history, with an analyst estimating more than 9 billion Canadian dollars in insurance losses. The Bank of Montreal adjusted its growth forecast for Canada's GDP in the second quarter to 0 from 1.5%, citing severe disruptions to oil production as a result of the fire.
Firenadoes, this is how they form. Firenadoes have made the news in the last few weeks in California and Missouri after a record dry winter has set the perfect conditions for wildfires. Known in the science community as a fire whirl, a firenado is a phenomena that has been documented for more than 100 years. The Great Chicago Fire in 1871, for example, was spread by a fire whirl throwing flaming chunks of wood in all directions. A fire whirl can occur when ground-level winds create an air vortex that comes in contact with fire. The ground's high temperature causes the hot air immediately above the surface to quickly rise, pushing the air vortex up into a vertical fire spiral. The air inside the funnel then acts as a solid rotating column of gas, which keeps spinning quickly while kicking up fire and smoke. It is estimated that Firenadoes burn fuel 3 to 7 times faster than an open flame. They can be as high as a 10-story building and 10 feet wide. While some Firenadoes dissipate after a couple of minutes, others can sustain themselves for longer, dramatically enlarging a wildfire's path of destruction for miles. The deadliest fire whirl on record occurred in Japan in 1923, which formed after the Great Kanto 7.9 earthquake and swept the area where survivors of the quake had gathered. Thousands were killed in just minutes.
One family's harrowing escape from California's wildfires.
Tourists drive through raging California wildfire. It looks like a vision of hell, but this terrifying scene is what confronted a family of terrified tourists at Christmas. Micah Max and her family from the Netherlands didn't realize they were heading into the heart of a raging wildfire on December 25th. The family of 5 were driving from Los Angeles to Santa Barbara after watching an NBA game between the Lakers and the Clippers. Max began filming as fire scorched the earth on either side of the road and sent burning embers and bush flying onto the car. The family escaped the ordeal by speeding away from the inferno before it could do any lasting damage to the car or their lives. The fire blazed from Christmas night into Boxing Day, burning more than 1,200 acres of land in Solomar Beach in Ventura County. Officials said 2 firefighters were injured in the fire, which was caused by downed power lines amid a drought and high winds.
The pilot of a rural fire service aircraft was killed when his plane crashed as it tried to extinguish bushfires in New South Wales, Australia. The incident took place 40 kilometres west of Ulladulla, near Braidwood. The water-bombing plane was involved in firefighting operations when a wing reportedly snapped off the plane, causing the crash. A fire broke out as a result of the incident. Crews, including a rescue helicopter, are still responding to the scene.
Southern California authorities arrested 3 men on Thursday on suspicion of recklessly starting a brush fire that drove thousands from their homes. The suspects, identified as Jonathan Carl Gerald, Stephen Robert Aguirre, and Clifford Eugene Henry Jr., reportedly started the blaze after tossing paper into a campfire. The wildfire, which erupted early on Thursday, comes in the middle of a statewide drought and has destroyed close to 2,000 acres of land in the foothills around Glendora, 25 miles northeast of Los Angeles. The quickly spreading fire has damaged 17 homes, garages, barns, and other buildings, and has forced the evacuation of some 2,000 people.
The U.S. military plans to deploy 4 specially equipped C-130 firefighting aircraft to aid Arizona firefighters battling what is now considered the deadliest fire in state history. The giant C-130 tanker planes are equipped with a modular airborne firefighting system, giving them the ability to drop 3,000 gallons of water or fire retardant in less than 5 seconds. Each drop can cover an area of 60 feet wide and 1/4 of a mile long. 2 of the aircrafts have been provided by the Air Force, the other 2 by the National Coast Guard. 19 firefighters were killed fighting a wildfire in Arizona on Sunday, in one of the U.S.'s worst firefighting tragedies in decades. Reports said several of the dead were found inside their temporary fire shelters. Temporary fire shelters are used as a last resort when firefighters become trapped. Firefighters should ideally clear the ground to the soil before deploying the shelter and climbing inside. The shelter consists of 2 layers, an outer layer of aluminum foil laminated to woven silica, and an inner layer of aluminum laminated to fiberglass. An air gap offers further insulation. The outer layers reflect around 95% of radiant heat, but convective heat is absorbed rapidly. Temperatures of 500 degrees Fahrenheit and above can break down the glue that bonds the fabric to the foil. The foil can then be torn, making it less able to reflect radiant heat. The Yarnell Hills fire is one of dozens to have hit the western U.S. in recent weeks. Experts say the current fire season could turn out to be one of the worst on record.
A wind-driven wildfire raging along the California coast led to the evacuation of hundreds of homes and a university campus on Thursday. Tall plants within 10 feet of the house should be removed as they can provide fuel for flames. Vehicles need to be removed from garages. Wood and other flammable material should also be removed from the house. Windows should be locked as embers can enter, spreading fire to the inside of the house. Lights should be turned on to indicate that someone is home. The outbreak of fires marked the start of wildfire season in California.